that it seems like Lenoris is trending towards playing on Saturday, barring any setback. And Pete did report today, just right before that, also like 15 minutes ago maybe, that Sellers was back out in practice today. So that is a good sign. Again, Shane Beamer did say the other day that you typically have to practice Tuesday and or Wednesday to be able to play on Saturday. He apparently practiced yesterday, practicing today. I feel like things are kind of heading towards him being able to play on Saturday, even though he's questionable right now.
When you look at the things that have been said this week about, I don't want to say that Shane or Mike were being defensive, but hey, maybe the narrative around the offense isn't the reality. And upon further review with some of the things that you guys have done at Central and some of the things that we've talked about with Ryan Brewer and even when I went back and watched on Sunday, and I said this on Monday and Tuesday, Jack, the plays were there, and I get that part of it. How confident do you believe they are that what they're doing simply needs to click rather than be tweaked and changed?
I think that's a fair assessment, Jay. I think they do have the plays to make this whole thing go, right? I mean, they have the talent, they have the pieces, they have the quarterback, certainly, and I think they do have some decent play call. Again, that first half was not as bad as it's made out to be. That, you see the final score, and South Carolina scores 7 points, and it's like, oh, the offense was terrible. I mean, they kind of were in the second half. I think it's not so much an issue of moving the ball. It's finding the end zone. That was the problem, right? You had the pick by Sellers early on in this game, and I feel like that was a legit momentum shift that kind of just changed the whole dynamic of the game. I mean, who knows what happens if South Carolina scores a touchdown right there to take a 14-7 lead. I mean, they got the crowd going, towels waving, might be a different game. So I do think they're confident that it is just a matter of just when it's going to click. And I think that is the case. I think this team and this offense, they have a lot of talent. It's just about going out there and doing it consistently, and also just trying to figure out the whole Lenoris Sellers conundrum of, is he running more? Is he running less? I mean, I think he's running a good amount. It's just not for a significant amount of yards right now.
Talking to our buddy Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central. Staying with this theme, it was interesting that before the Vandy game, Boaz Stanley and Case and Henry, in addition to their coaches, made mention of the need to practice better. And then this week, Shane says, we had a good week of practice, but it did not translate to the game. Is there anything more you're able to gather from press conferences, conversations around the ball club about what they think isn't happening that takes them from a good week to a game where, more often than not, especially last week, Jack, they kind of blame themselves for the things they did poorly?
Great question, because I actually asked Clayton White that yesterday as I'm looking for the exact quote of what he had to say. I basically just asked, we've heard you guys talk about how you had great weeks of practice, but what is it on game day that you noticed was different out there? Because Clayton was saying they had a good week of practice, but they had a bad day on Saturday. And he basically just said there were some bad plays in that game. And, every coach in America is going to say that they had a great week of practice. But, some teams say that, and then they don't go out there and win it. I think it's just as simple as that. I don't think they lack intensity or, the detail of what needs to go into practice with the right game plan. I think it's just a matter of, again, execution. Like, fix the little things, the missed tackles in this game, getting off the field on third down. That really killed South Carolina's defense in this game. And I think it's just a matter of the offense continuing to find what they are going to try and be. I mean, they gotta be able to finish drives. That's the main killers from that game. The penalties were bad. You had the missed tackles. You had the not getting off the field on third down, and you had the offensive inability to finish drives. I think it's just as simple as that.
Hey, Jack, we talk about the finishing drives part, and you look at the breakdown of the game, the explosive plays, the lack of them once Sellers went out of the game. And when you look at the offense, the success rate was really good before Lenoris got hurt. Like you said, they were moving the ball. But defensively, when you're on how much of this do you think was, besides the fact that Vanderbilt's running a ton of stuff to okey-doke you and to take you out of position and make your aggressiveness work against you, how much of it do you think was that, South Carolina was on the field 35, 36 minutes defensively, And that's a mental toll when you go up against Vandy.
Totally. It is, because Vanderbilt likes to melt the play clock down. I mean, there were a lot of times where it's going down to 5, 4, 3. Then they snap the ball. And, I mean, you're right, Terry. I mean, Carolina's defense was on the field for nearly 35 minutes in that game. And that's a lot when, like I said, you're not able to stop them on third down. You're missing tackles. And also the other factor is your offense is just not doing enough to keep you, give you a little bit of rest before you go back out there. That's the main thing. So you hope the defense is able to play a little bit better this week. It's going to be a real challenge to stop guys like Ahmad Hardy from Missouri, a really good running back. Both of you, I think, has a lot of upside and has been off to a really nice start this year. But it's about the little things. Carolina can control how to tackle. They can control, getting stops when they need to. It's just about going out there now and trying to do it more efficiently than they did last week.
Jack, always appreciate the time, man. Safe travels up to Como this weekend. Look forward to getting your reports back here next week. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, fellas. Always appreciate it.
You bet. That's our buddy Jack
See you,
Veltri, Jack T. Veltri, to follow along on Twitter. And, of course, catch his work at GamecockCentral.com. And he's right here almost every day in the mornings. Almost.
He is here every day now.
Yeah, it is every day, isn't it?
You got to pay attention to the radio station.
I don't pay attention. I see Dave over there, so that's a thing. That's about it.
Dave was in the building when we moved in there. When you guys moved in there, 15 years ago or whatever it was in that building?
We moved here a little over 10 years ago.
What wasn't Dave already kind of living in the basement? You just
maybe 11 years ago. I think because Michael and I worked in this building for about a year. I feel like before he left. So, about 11 years. Yeah, Dave's got a cot.
So Dave's
got a cot.
Yeah, Dave. He sleeps down in the basement.
I don't know, Dave. Where do you keep your convenience store now? That's my question, Dave. Dave doesn't have his desk out here anymore.
Dave's convenience store got torn down.
It's too bad, man. He'll find a way. All right, lots more to do. We'll open the vault and we'll give you a start bench drop on the other side. U.S. Brick is a leading American-owned brick manufacturer. They're building materials supplier with plants in South Carolina, Alabama. They are headquartered right here in Columbia, South Carolina. And here in the capital city, they produce residential, commercial, and authentic tumbled bricks. And now their new exterior design center, located right near the ballpark downtown, showcases all of U.S. Brick's collection alongside a diverse range of complementary materials, outdoor living solutions, The space also has dedicated workspaces, project planning resources for professionals and homeowners alike. It's at 300 UG Street, again, down near Founders Park, and you can get in there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Or you can set up a time to meet the folks at US Brick on your own schedule. So get in there and check them out, see what they can do for you. So many great people to work with. Mikey Johnson and his team at US Brick. "11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon. Welcome back in. Jay and Terry with you. Captain David, Master Control. Thanks again to Jack Veltri for joining us. We'll let Terry open the vault. Typically, we do start, bench, drop a little earlier in the hour, but again, yours truly was slightly delayed today in getting in here. But
What
all
happens
good.
when you work when you live in that kind of neighborhood?
All good. No,
Burglar
no,
alarms
no,
going
no.
off.
We're not
Just
going
saying.
there. We're not going there. But everything's fine. Everything's fine. So today's start, bench, drop, Terry. We're going back to tailgating. Go back to tailgating. Now, I only get 3 of these, and typically when you order fried chicken, there's 4 pieces, right? Now, most people might go for the chicken breast first. So we're taking the chicken breast out of the equation. All right, so your start, bench, drop is the drumstick, the thigh, the wing. And we're talking the whole wing, not talking about wings. If you like the flat or the drumette, we're talking the wing. So drumstick, thigh, wing. That's today's start, bench, drop.
That's a good one, man. Look at you. I did a little thinking on that one.
Yeah, I do too, because I could I don't know. I'm honestly I'm torn. When I do these a lot, I don't have them always like in mind of what I would do. And that's where I am right now. So start, bench, drop, drumstick, thigh, wing. There you go.
Yeah, I know which one I'm going to drop, but I'm having a tough time with start and bench.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Bench.
I don't know yet. I honestly, I don't know. But I tell you this much: I want somebody to run down to Bernie's for me and bring me some chicken.
You're making me hungry. Exactly.
All right, let's open the vault as well.
Oh, got a couple good ones, man.
All right,
let's
do it.
A couple good ones here. All right, here's what we got. I'm gonna throw. Usually I throw you one, but we're gonna fire off 3 real quick.
Oh wow.
1982. Jack Elway, the head coach of San Jose State, beat Stanford. You know who's quarterbacking the Stanford Cardinal?
Yes, one young John Elway was. Yes.
Yes. Jack Elway led San Jose State to its 2nd consecutive upset of his son's Stanford squad, 531 in Palo Alto. John Elway was great, threw for 382 and 3 touchdowns. This guy's name's interesting. Steve Clarkson was the quarterback for San Jose State. He threw for 3 scores as well. Clarkson's now one of those quarterback guru whisperers that works with the NFL and college quarterbacks. So he was the quarterback for San Jose State that day, sir.
Jack Elway also coached at Stanford, yes?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
After John had left, a long time after that, Jack took over at Stanford.
Who drafted?
Yes, he did.
Who drafted John Elway, Terry?
I don't remember, Jay. Some pitiful franchise that's no longer in that city. 1996. Roger Clemens equals his own major league record, striking out 20 batters and throwing a 4-hitter. Ball.
One, two, 1, 2. A big slowdown tie up 26 eastbound between Piney Grove Road and St. Andrews Road. Also 26 westbound between Broad River Road, exit 97. And that's the peak exit, of course. And the Chapin exit, exit 91. Sparkberry at 2 Notch, got a wreck there. Blythewood at Wilson Boulevard and Kaufman Road at Teague. This is Captain Dave.
Oh, sure. I'm on my third. I'm on my third brew. And it's in the name of the place. I've got to drink brew. I got.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are all things that, again, you look at during the course of the game. You look at going into the game. You look at after the game, and the communication with our staff and our players, and we do a good job. And yeah, you want every drive to go, 80 yards for a touchdown. You want every play to go score a touchdown. But they teams we're playing are pretty good as we move forward into the continue into the SEC, and so there's a fine line. And hey, do you keep running those plays? Do you look at other plays? Do you have plays off those plays? So all that stuff is kind of keep all that in mind, and talk to your players about that, and keep working on trying to stay out of the negative plays is the main thing. That way you can stay on the field, make first downs, and hopefully when you do that, you move the ball and you get points on the board.
Well, I'll tell you guys a story that, when my first year at Indiana, I think it was my freshman year, it must have been, I guess it was still the Kevin Wilson era. I watched Indiana like slog through a double overtime game against Southern Illinois in the first game of my undergrad career. So I can safely say that I watched a lot of really crappy football in my 4 years as an undergrad, and didn't quite expect this weekend. But I'm actually getting ready to board a plane and on my way to Bloomington for the game, so it should be entertaining. Yeah, look, like at this rate, pretty much everything's probably going to come under legal scrutiny for better or worse, and it's probably a safe assumption that there might be that. But what I will say is that I think, like, at this point, I think generally speaking, this is something that a lot of coaches have wanted. Generally speaking, it's not necessarily the consensus, but I do think it does help at least streamline this stuff a little bit, where you do have, again, like I think this has become a problem where you have guys that show up in place, they show up in the fall, they leave in the spring, et cetera, et cetera. It becomes a little bit of an issue there. This helps streamline things a little bit. It does give, I think, coaches some more flexibility to, frankly, like know what their roster is going to look like in, whatever, mid-January to early February. It's theoretically going to be pretty similar to what it is come first week of the season. So I think that is a good thing. Now, does it limit player movement a little bit more and things like that? Yeah, I think there's like some real questions about that. I would imagine that's probably where you'll see some legal challenges. But I do think that generally speaking, like, this is probably a good thing overall. Yeah, well, I was going to say, for what it's worth, if there's any publishers are listening, then feel free to. I'm open for all business and book proposals. Please let me know. But no, I will say, like, look, I think that look, I think you're right. Like, that a collective bargaining agreement is probably realistically like the only thing that's going to stop these lawsuits. Now, that obviously creates a lot of issues, right? You need to figure out whether athletes are going to be classified as employees or not under state and federal law. I think that's a real problem and a real concern one way or the other for a lot of people, and how that shakes out ultimately opens the door one way or the other for collective bargaining or not. But I think that, I would say this much, like, I've been on the phone with a handful of athletic directors the last few days, and the collective bargaining thing has come up, and pretty much everyone, I would say, like, I don't know, I'm speculating in small sample size maybe, but like, I would say that probably 80% of people are probably largely in favor of some kind of collective bargaining. Now, what I will say is that collective bargaining is kind of a buzzword these days and isn't necessarily a catch-all. It doesn't necessarily exactly describe what I think athletes what administrators want, but I do think it does. It's more complicated than just saying, hey, let's create a players union, let's get everyone at a table and let's hammer out these details, right? Like, it's a little more complicated than that. But I do think that there is something to be said for, what, A, player representation, and B, everyone kind of coming to an agreement on what this is going to look like. And because you don't have that, like, pretty much every rule is going to come under some kind of scrutiny from someone who's annoyed about it one way or the other. And so I think that that's why you're going to continue to see legal challenges. Well, Terry, I got to say first, to quote Kurt Signetti the other day, right? Old Dominion turned out to be a pretty good team, right? So, I mean, listen, like, don't get me wrong, but listen, all things considered, no, I mean, I think that's a fair question, right? Of like, what does the Big Ten feel about this? And I think that that's a real question. Now, this is obviously a little bit different in that, like, for example, with the college football playoff structure right now, there's a little bit of, an impasse because the Big Ten and the SEC do ultimately have to agree on whatever the format's going to be. That's not the case here necessarily, or not quite in the exact same way. So what I would say is that, yes, like, I think that ultimately, like, does the Big Ten probably have to agree at least on some level with whatever everyone else is going for? Yeah, probably. But is it, does it need to be, 100%? I don't know that that's necessarily the case, though. Well, I mean, look, just the fact that we're talking about Cody, I think speaks volumes. Just the fact that he's definitely out there and definitely in the headlines. But I do think that, I think Cody has some pretty real influence and can probably bend the ear of some real decision makers for sure. And frankly, obviously has a lot of influence with his money and his business, and obviously what's gone on at Texas Tech and being the chair of the Board of Regents. Like, I think all those things add up, certainly to influence. Now, is Cody going to be writing the bill that ultimately resolves all of this? No, probably not. But I do think that I do think that he is an influential voice, and increasingly more influential voice in these conversations as well. And so, whether that comes out to look like, hey, he's just, pulling for Texas Tech or doing what's right for Texas Tech, like, I don't know. I mean, look, like, we've all got inherent biases, right? But I do think that, generally speaking, I think he's been pretty involved in a lot of these conversations. And I think that is to have someone who did, play high major college football and is obviously hyper involved in athletics and things like that. Like, certainly, look, I think a lot of athletic directors would probably like to occupy that spot, but I do think that, like, Cody's not the worst person in the world to be, at least having some of those conversations. Yeah, so what I would say is that, I was on the phone with someone actually just a few minutes before we hopped on about this game in particular. Like, my understanding is that this is a multi-year agreement. It's not just necessarily just Kansas State Kansas and Arizona State, but that this Union Jack Classic in Wembley Stadium is a multi-year agreement, and is something that is going to happen more than just, in 2026. My understanding is that 2027, there's some offers out, and there's some discussions being had. 2028, same thing. There's kind of working through the details there, but I think the idea is basically like, hey, you've got kind of an untapped market here, right? Like, the NFL had done a really good job with these London games and have really carved out a nice niche, whether it's fan bases or otherwise. And I do think that, whether it's the Big 12 or whoever it might be, there's opportunity there. And I think, certainly if there's anyone who loves to grab opportunity, Brett Yormark at the Big 12 is certainly, the commissioner of the Big 12 is certainly one of those people. And I think that, there's real opportunity there to be had. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes, a couple more years and sort of see where it lands. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, guys.
We have a bang up on I-26 going to be westbound, which will be outbound between the Peak exit and the Chapin exit. It's going to be about the 94-mile marker. Also, Rex Sparkberry Lane near Two Notch Road, Blackwood Road at Wilson Boulevard, Kaufman Road at Teague with a wreck there as well. How would you believe this? Very small chance of any rain for like the next week. And temperatures will be in the high 80s to the low 90s most of those days. Be fairly pleasant. This is Captain Dave. All right, an accident at I-26 eastbound at Bush River Road, exit 108A, also 26 westbound between the 97 and the 91, between the Peak exit and the Chapin exit. That one's still there. 94 exit, well, 94 mile marker is about where it is. Sparkleberry near Two Notch Road, Blythewood at Wilson, Kaufman at Teague, Augusta Highway at Pisgah Church Road. A wreck there, also a new one coming in. Calks Ferry Road at Fairview Road. So look out for that in Bowling Springs near Founders. This is Captain Dave.
No, that's a good question. It's those are things that part of your job if you coach, and really as players too. You want every play to work, and but there's ups and downs in this game, and the perfect game is still out there, and you just kind of you ask your players to be dialed in, to be focused, to keep the blinders on, and making sure you do your job, and then the guy next to you does, and be the teammate that you want your teammates to look at and say, hey, I can depend on that guy. And then if we ask our players to do that, we need to do that as a staff as well. And it's like I said, the culture that Shane has built around here is a very impressive, and it's a tight culture. It's a tight group of guys that kind of want to play for each other and not let each other down. And I think when you have all those ingredients, I think eventually that stuff's gonna, good things are gonna come your way.
Obviously, I mean, really going against offense of any kind of offense, you got to have great eye discipline. Vanderbilt presents more problems. Missouri presents their own problems in regards of how they hide plays and how they hide players and certain concepts that they do. So you got to be really locked into where you're looking at and know your progression. Is it 3-2, 2-1, 1-2, or guard the flow, or running back, tight end, tackle, whatever the read is, you got to be great. You got to understand what's the next progression. We're teaching it all the time. We do a great job of just obviously keep teaching that part of the game, because it's the hardest part for these guys to understand. They want to sometimes just go out there and just play the game and find the football. But sometimes these offenses do give you some keys if you just understand your progression, and it'll put you in the right spot.
Oh, I boosted the maximum when you guys are on. It's up to 10.
Definitely some missed tackles. We that was our highest number of the year in regards of just not getting guys on the ground when we had opportunities. I think our angles were bad. I think that we were not pressing the near hip enough. I do believe that it's something we emphasize a lot. You know, you have to just carry those things over to the game. It's our job as coaches to put them in those positions throughout the week to replicate that, you know, that skill set and do a great job of just finishing and understanding. Obviously, we can't tackle at practice, but you have to take the right angles at practice, have the right mindset, and just know that when it comes on Saturday, you have to, you know, get it done the best of your ability. Yeah, it's frustrating as a defensive coach whenever we feel like it's hard to get the third down. Like it's just hard to get a good third down and manageable situation for us. And then I think a couple of times that we were there and we missed a tackle, and that's frustrating. And it happens, continuous on drives. Like it's like a stat that's out there. Once they convert one third down within a series, the chance of scoring goes up. So I think they converted 3 on one drive, which was 2 of those that we feel like we got to finish those plays. And I feel like they got to give them credit as well. But I think you got to give them credit. They did a really good job of finding different ways to convert third down. They weren't running the same, concept. But we still have to make plays and got to do a better job. Have to do a better job of putting them in a position to showcase their skills a little bit better.
Wreck on 26 is going to be inbound, Bush River Road. Also one at Blythewood Road and McNulty. American Italian Way at Pineview, a wreck there. Shop at Atlas Road, Augusta Highway at Pisgah Church Road at Charter Oak. Bowling Springs Road at Redmond, and also Cawksbury Road at Fairview Road, Highway 178 with that particular accident. Looks like not much chance of rain through the whole next week. Maybe one or two here and there. They'll be very isolated if it does happen. Highs in the upper 80s to low 90s, but mostly pleasant for most of the time. But humidity picking up right around Tuesday of next week. And that's when we'll start seeing it getting a little bit warmer again. This is Captain Dave.